Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am so excited to be reviewing the NYX Cosmetics and Sabrina palette with you. Now this is the first time for a long time I have been really excited for a palette launch, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I think it's because I'm such a big fan of the Sabrina show. I just love it. It's one of those shows that I don't have to take too seriously. When I was watching, The Witcher, I have to sit there and really pay attention to everything that's happening. But Sabrina, I think because it's geared towards a slightly younger audience, it's so fun to watch, but it's also, it's not that deep. And I just really like it. Now, I was prepared to order this palette from the NYX website the day it launched. And I went to order it, and it said it was going to take 2 weeks to get here. So I was like, that sucks. I wonder if my Shoppers already has it in stock by any chance. So I actually called my Shoppers, and they did have it in stock. So I bought it in store. So it did cost me a little more money. It cost me $46.99, whereas the website it was exactly $45 Canadian. Now, I have to admit, that is a ridiculous price for a drugstore eyeshadow palette. I think that is so expensive. I don't know who NYX thinks they are, but I mean, I bought it anyway, so I guess they would. Now, I was going to do what I usually do and take you through on the website, but I have a sneaky suspicion that this is actually already sold out on the website. It is a limited edition palette, but I have a feeling NYX will probably restock it at some point because it's so popular and Sabrina's so popular. But right now, it won't even load the page for me. When I click on new arrivals, it shows me all the lip kits that they came out with, but it doesn't show me the palette. So instead, you just get me blabbing about this palette. So just to be frank, for starters, this palette is very clearly, to me, meant for fans of the show Sabrina. It's just, it's not practical. It's a big palette that opens like a book, and the shade names are all very, you have to watch the show to understand. So if you're not a fan of Sabrina, this palette might not make any sense to you. But if you are a fan of Sabrina, you're definitely going to like this. It's sort of a collector's item in that way. So when you open up the palette, you have, I didn't even count how many eyeshadows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times 5 is 30. So you have 30 eyeshadows and 3 big face colors at the bottom. Now, these eyeshadows are, to be honest with you, beautiful. When I had decided I was going to buy this palette as soon as it was announced, to be honest with you. But the Instagram photos that NYX and the Sabrina Instagram and that sort of thing, Trend Mood, took, they don't really do this palette justice. And I'm looking in my viewfinder right now, and that doesn't even really do this palette justice. This is a beautiful palette. My sister was like, you shouldn't buy this palette, it's too expensive, and then she saw it in person and was like, no, it's beautiful. My friend Shelby did the same thing. So this is actually quite a beautiful and diverse palette, and although immediately it might look like it's a lot, because some of the colors are so bright, if you separate into sections, these top 2 rows are very wearable and very me, and very reminiscent of every eyeshadow palette that I've ever loved. And then you get some more fun things scattered throughout. In this palette, you get a nice mix of mattes and shimmers. I find that there are actually a fair amount of mattes, which I prefer in an eyeshadow palette, and I feel like the right shades are matte and the right shades are shimmer. That is another issue I have with some other palettes out there, is I feel like they make weird shades shimmery and weird shades matte. But in this one, all the shades, like this Malice shadow here, and this Limbo shadow, and Angel Death and Truth Cake, those shades that I feel like should be matte are matte. I will say right now, the blushes are very, very pigmented, as with most inexpensive blushes. A little bit goes a long way, and this morning I actually wore the NYX Scratch one, and I barely touched it, and I barely touched it to my face, and I still felt like I had too much blush on. So just keep that in mind. I feel like we experience that with a lot of drugstore blushes, but just keep that in mind. The Caliban highlighter is way too dark for me, and more so than that, it even has a really sort of reddy undertone, straight up red, so if I put it on my face, you can really see the red in it, so I really can't make it work as a highlighter. I could probably make it work as an eyeshadow, though. And that takes us to our next con, other than the price of this palette. And that is, if you look at the back of the palette, it lets you know that the 3 face colors and 4 of the eyeshadows are technically not eye safe. Now, however, I have less of a problem with this being not eye safe than I do with other palettes that we've talked about in this channel in the past being not eye safe. And the reason is, these are not eye safe because they are pressed pigments. In the past on this channel, we have talked about eyeshadows that are not eye safe because the glitter chunks are too big. And when the glitter chunks are that big and they're not meant for your eyes, they have sharp edges. And those sharp edges can, get in your eye and tear it up. Whereas with a pressed pigment, I believe the biggest issue with a pressed pigment is that they have so much pigment in them that they can stain your skin. And as much as I'm not trying to belittle the fact that it can stain your skin, I just feel like that is not as dangerous to me as glitter chunks that are going to rip my eyes open. So, I and many other people who use makeup will probably still use the pressed pigments around our eyes. It's just not something that I'm afraid of, but it's something to keep in mind if that's not something you want to risk, is the staining around your eye areas. One of the things that I think is the coolest thing about this palette is that on the inside of the cover here, as nice as it would be to have a mirror there, I'll be honest with you, I miss a mirror, it gives you these sort of like times of day, behold the light, embrace the night, and it gives you like a little incantation in the middle, and then gives you different spells at the bottom. And the different spells are different combinations of eyeshadows that you can use. It doesn't tell you how, but it kind of gives you an idea of what colors to put together if you so choose. So I only realized when I went to shoot this video that on the NYX website it actually shows you some of the looks that you can make with these spells. But when I'm going to show you the 4 looks that I did with this eyeshadow palette, I used a couple of the ideas that were at the bottom here. So overall, I think this palette is too expensive, and I'm not a fan of the fact that some of the eyeshadow shades they're calling pressed pigments are technically not eye safe. I love this palette. I am such a massive Sabrina fan, and this palette goes perfectly with the show. It's got such a beautiful combination of colors to it, and I just think if you're a fan of the show, you're going to love this palette. Again, it's not very practical. It's a big palette that doesn't even come with a mirror, so like I would never travel with this, and that's a lie. I would travel with this, but that's just because I'm a lot. But like I have no regrets about buying this palette, but you really have to be in it to buy it, you know what I mean? I'm going to use this palette all the time. So I want to show you a couple of eye looks that I have done over the past couple of days with this palette. So the first look that I'm going to show you here is sort of my typical pinky eyeshadow look that I would wear on a daily basis. I actually did do this for work one morning. So I started out with the shade Truth Cake, which is sort of like a matte cream color, just to kind of set my eyes and prepare everything to go. Then I went into the shade Sweet 16, which is like a sort of warm pink, to just kind of create like a crease color. And then unknowingly, I went into one of the pressed pigment shades after that. This one is sort of, I'm going to call it like a hot pink, and it's the shade Batty Bat, which, for the record, the Batty Bat episode in the first season is my least favorite episode in the entire series. The first time I tried to watch the show all the way through, I watched it, and then I got to the Batty Bat episode, and I was so bored that I shut it off, and I didn't touch the show again for like 6 months. And then I pushed through that episode, and then I watched like the rest of it in one sitting. I just hate that episode. It's so boring. There's always that one filler episode in these things that is just painful. That was the Batty Bat episode, was that. I digress. So I put Batty Bat in there, and then I went back in with a little bit of Sweet 16 and buffed that out. And then all over my eyelid with my finger, I used the shade Eternal Bliss just to add some sparkle and some, pinkiness to it. For the second look, I actually took inspiration from the spell here. It's called Money Charm. And so what I did first was I went in with the shade Limbo, which is one of my favorite shades in the palette. It's a very like gray, browny color. And I went in with that in my crease first. Now that is actually a color that I would wear on a regular basis, just in my crease and then with my liner and just call it a day. Because I really like it. But I put that in my crease, and then I took the matte black shade Salem, and I put that around, my eye to create sort of like a halo eye look. And then I took the green shade Dark Carnival on my finger and put that in the middle, and this gave me like a really dark, smoky with that green hint halo eye look that I actually ended up really liking. The third look is the only one that I wasn't super happy with. This one I took inspiration from the Glamour Spell. So the first shade I used was the shade Spellman here. And this shade I found to be the most disappointing out of all the shades I've used, because in the pan, it looks like a really nice purpley color, but on my eyes it really just came out like a sort of smoky charcoal color. It didn't have the purple impact that I wanted it to have, and I was really disappointed in that, to be honest with you. But I digress. I used that, I put that in my crease and then on the outer corner of my eye. And then I transitioned that into the center section of my eyelid, into the shade Midwinter, which is like a sort of shiny navy blue color. I love that one. It's not really a glitter, it's more of like a satin. Love it. And then in the inner corner of my eye, with my finger, I took the shade Dark Princess, which is like a true sort of gold. Can we call it antique gold or like classic gold? I don't know. And I used that in my finger on the inner corner. That shade was beautiful and bright, and it just made me even sadder about the shade Spellman that I wanted to like but didn't. And then the final look is the one that I have on right now. This is more so also something that I would just wear on a daily basis. So pretty much all I did was I took the shade Before Dawn, which is just like a matte, light orangey color. A matte tangerine, if you will. And I just buffed that through my crease. Then on like a more pointed brush, I took the shade Dark Baptism, which is a matte, deeper warm brown. Not dark, but like deeper warm brown. And put that in the like center of the crease. And then buffed it out with Before Dawn. And then that's my makeup today, you know? I just feel like when you look at this palette, the possibilities are kind of endless. Because you can go really pinky and just be like subtle. Or you could use any of these sort of brighter, darker shades at the bottom here and go with that. You have a great mixture in here of like sort of more regular everyday type shades like Harrowing and Before Dawn. Limbo is great for that. Dark Baptism. And then there's like the colors in here that you get to play with. So like I said earlier in this video, I love this palette. Does it magnet shut? Yes, it does magnetize shut. I love this palette. I have no regrets about buying it. Just know that I don't necessarily know that I recommend it for someone who's not a Sabrina fan. But if you are a Sabrina fan, I think you would like this palette. And I think it would be a lot of fun for you. And you know what? I might actually recommend it for someone who's not a Sabrina fan either. As long as they're like open to this sort of thing. Because some of the names in here won't make any sense to you. But I like it. I think it's cute. I have no regrets. Like I said, it is limited edition. So if you end up wanting to get it, I would say sooner rather than later is your best bet, but I'm definitely glad that I was a silly girl and I went and spent this money on the day it came out and bought it. No regrets, you know? And anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed already, and I will see you next time. Bye!